Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, the third day of the 2022 annual conference of the Turkish Wind Energy Association. Today, we're going to be looking at technology. My name is Giles Dixon. I'm the CEO of Wind Europe, and it's my great pleasure to be moderating today's panel discussion, which will be focusing on new technologies in wind energy. We are joined today, ladies and gentlemen, by very senior members, top management of the 5 leading wind turbine manufacturers. And I'm going to give each of them the floor in turn now to say something about themselves and about their company, and to share some highlights with you in their introductory remarks for what their company is currently doing, both in Turkey, in the rest of Europe, and globally. And I'm going to give the floor, first of all, to the CEO for Europe of Nordex, Mr. Ibrahim Özarslan. Ibrahim, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Giles. Good morning to everyone, and also from my side, honored to be participating in this panel discussion with the other OEMs discussing new technologies and also market situation. My name is Ibrahim Özarslan. I am 49 years old, since 1998 with Nordex, so many years along in the industry and mainly only with Nordex. I am civil engineer from background, and I have the responsibility as the CEO for Europe. That means all our activities in Europe is under my responsibility with our team. And I have been doing various tasks inside Nordex over the years. And from 2012 until 2018, I have been based in Istanbul for our Turkish and Middle East business. So I know the Turkish market very well. What are we doing as a Nordex? I mean, probably most of you do know Nordex, one of the leading OEMs in the world. And as I said, I'm responsible for the European side. We are designing, manufacturing, and executing projects, maintaining projects which we have worldwide. And we have a big subsidiary in Turkey, which we have started in 2007. We have around 400 employees there, with the aim of installing projects and maintaining, selling projects. We have also a big export business where we are manufacturing certain components locally and using that also globally, especially for the European market. And we have a good team there who is, so to say, managing our business in Turkey and also in the Middle East. We have a market share around 28% in Turkey, so 3,200 megawatt under operation. And Turkey is one of our important markets inside the group. And of course, we will discuss furthermore about the new technologies and also the market situation. So looking forward to the good discussion here today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed, Ibrahim. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce to you the President for Mediterranean, Middle East and Africa of Vestas, Mr. José Luis Jimeno. José Luis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giles. First, checking that you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. So good morning to everybody. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here today in this panel. Just a few words introducing myself and my company and what are we doing in the industry in the world and in particular in Turkey. So as I said, I'm José Luis, I'm Spanish, I'm based in Madrid. I have spent my entire career working in the energy industry, and I have spent the last 14 years working for Vestas, where I have held several positions ranging from service operations, general manager for Spain and for Portugal, service for the Mediterranean area, and now having this position, having the helm of what we call the Mediterranean extended area, including Africa and also Middle East. So the industry, I think probably it's worth a couple of words on where the industry is going or the situation we are in today. So the industry, I think, we think is in a tipping point, right? It is a great perspective. There is a huge volume that is coming in If we want to achieve carbon neutrality in many markets, there will be enormous amounts of gigawatts that will need to be installed. So we will see growth in the industry. But I think we all see clearly that all the O&Ms are struggling for profitability. So something needs to give. And I think the discussion today, Giles, I suggest that we devote some time to discuss that matter because it is important. Vestas, as a company, I think with all due respect to my esteemed colleagues, I think we are the largest manufacturer of wind solutions across the world. We have installed more than 140 gigawatts in more than 85 countries, I think is the latest number. More than 120 gigawatts in service. And we are very proud to say that we are the most sustainable company in the world, according to the Corporate Knights, where you have seen that news recently. Very proud to be that because our mission as a company is to become the leader in sustainable energy solutions. With regards to Turkey, we have been in the country for several years, since 1998, sorry. Turkey is a strategic market for Vestas. It has been since we established ourselves there. We have installed more than 2 gigawatts. We have around 19% market share. And we are planning to grow and to have an even bigger presence in Turkey. But we just need to find the elements that can make us be profitable also in Turkey. And again, probably we should be discussing the conditions under which all the O&Ms or the O&Ms can be successful in Turkey going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose Luis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the CEO for Central Asia, Middle East and Africa of Enercon, Mr. Arif Gunya. Arif, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giles. And I would like to also use the opportunity to thank also the Turkish Wind Energy Association for organization of that nice event. And again, thank you very much. And good morning and good afternoon. My name is Arif Gunya. I'm 44 years old. I'm working for Enercon since 2007, and I'm based in Istanbul. And today I'm working as managing director of Enercon Turkey. And beside of this position, also due to new structure at Enercon World with the regionalization. So I'm responsible since last year, April, also as CEO of region Central Asia, Middle East, and Asia, where Turkey is belonging to the new region now. And as Enercon, also very well-known German company, which is founded in 1984 in Germany and still based in Aurich. And today, in 2021, we have installed roughly 2.6 gigawatts and roughly 700 turbines in the accumulated. Today, we have 57 gigawatts total installed capacity with more than 31,000 turbines worldwide. And yeah, the main companies target us, especially in the last years, the globalization of the industry and supply chain, sustainability and environmental friendly supply chain management, where we are working also very tight with Wind Europe, as you know, Giles. And of course, the regional structure so that we have a new 6 regions, so that we have split the world into the 6 regions now as Central Northern Europe, Western Europe, South Europe, and Latin America, Northern America, and APEC, and CAMEA as Central Asia, Middle East, and Africa. And Turkey, especially, is, of course, a very important market. We have realized the market in very early stage, so that we were the first who got the footprint in Turkey in 1997 with the first turbines. And today we have employees more than 650 times. So in Turkey we had more than 200 megawatts and roughly 50 turbines installed capacity. And today cumulated we have roughly 2.2 gigawatts, which is round about 1,000 turbines what we have installed in Turkey. And beside of that, of course, we have a really dense supply chain as generator blade and tawa production in Turkey. And beside of that, of course, so we are also acting as project developers since we awarded the Yeka 2 project with 500 megawatt in 2019. So also we are in deep project development phase now. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Arif. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the CEO for Northern Europe, Middle East and Turkey of Siemens Gamesa, Mr. Clark McFarlane. Clark, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giles. And thank you everybody for dialing in. And thank you for all my industry colleagues. It's really good always to chat about markets and to learn from each other. I think this is an exciting time for our industry and an exciting time for Turkish wind. A bit about myself. I'm originally Scottish and I work for Siemens Gamesa. I'll not tell you how old I am, but I did start in power generation in 1982. So I've seen many generations of power equipment come through, and the last 10 years in wind have certainly been a very exciting time in that journey as a professional engineer. I work for Siemens Gamesa across Northern Europe. So if you're from the UK all the way through to Russia and the Middle East, I'm responsible for our onshore business there. Quite an exciting time, as I think you'd all agree, for us in the onshore industry. At Siemens Gamesa, we've installed 100 gigawatts. So whilst I celebrate with you, you're 10 gigawatts in Turkey, I also celebrate as a company 100 gigawatts of installation, which is quite an achievement as we've all shared. We're concentrating at the moment on higher rated turbines. That's one of our key elements. We're also looking at a lifetime of the turbine, something very important for us within the industry to make sure that they are sustainable. We're looking at hydrogen solutions in order that we can look to the future as to see how the whole renewable energy and sustainability takes the world forward. And indeed, sustainability is at the DNA of our organization. You may have seen recently, we've looked at the recyclable blade that we've got. So looking to the future is what we're doing as an organization. In terms of our presence in Turkey, we have 1.3 gigawatts in operation in Turkey with a potential 1 gigawatt further to come. We have established use of the local supply chain, which we are delighted to see within our wind farms. We've built a nacelle factory, and we look forward to the future production of different types of components in Turkey. And I believe, and I'm happy to be corrected, I think we have the only R&D center within Turkey. So we are developing within Turkey technologies which will be used globally. And that's certainly, I think, a sign of maturity of the Turkish market. So quite exciting times.
Thank you very much indeed, Clark. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the engineering leader from GE Onshore International, Mr. Ranjit Vidipuran. Ranjit, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, Giles. And good morning, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right, super. No, this is really happy to participate in this event and with an extreme panel, right? So, and thank you for the Turkish Wind Association for organizing this. My name is Ranjit, engineering leader for onshore wind for the international market, responsible for introducing all the new products across the international market. And our definition of international market is Europe, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Latin America, pretty much everything outside North America. So I'm responsible for those products, designing and launching those products. I've been in GE for the last 20 years and in the industry in wind industry for last 19 years. And based out of Bangalore, India, but I spend half of my time in Spain and Germany and half in India. Now, if you look at GE in Turkey, we have been in Turkey for the last 70 years. And Turkey was one of our key markets, just not in renewables, but across our portfolio. If you look at aviation, if you look at power, if you look at healthcare industry. And we are committed for the country's sustainable development with advanced infrastructure, technologies, and services. We have over 2,600 employees in the country, and we are working on expanding our local supply base in the country. And as some of you know, we have a blade manufacturing facilities, and if you look at from an onshore perspective, we have engineers around 1,700 employees supporting onshore wind market in Turkey itself. We have installed around 2.2 gigawatt as we speak in Turkey. If you look at the energy market, we believe we are well positioned to help our customers, to help government in Turkey as well as across the world to help with energy transition, including wind, solar, but just not limited to that, with our power business, with transmission and distribution, and with our digital technologies. 2021 was a really challenging year for all of us. We grew globally, but at the same time, there was a lot of challenges related to COVID-19, material inflation, logistics escalation, and which all of us faced. But we came through this, and it actually taught us to be really resilient as a company, right? And good thing what we see is that the demand grows. There is a good focus on environment, sustainability, and carbon neutrality. So which is good because this industry is in the front runner for all of us. And if we look at the adjacent markets, have been really, really busy year for us across the globe. If I look at Turkey, if I look at Eastern Europe, Middle East, we see in the industry, in the market is kind of fluctuation. We see that the demand for certain countries are increasing for 1 year, 2 year, and then it is dropping. So we see this kind of volatility across this region. And if we shift to Turkey, strong demand in 19 and 20. Now, when we look at, because of feed-in tariff expiration, and then we got an extension for 6 months, and we see similar volatility if I look into 22 plus, right? And this is also for all of us in the industry, it is really important that on a midterm and long term, we have a sustainable view for a sustainable growth. Good thing is the potential in Turkey, great wind potential, and country has demonstrated great installation capabilities over the last couple of years, installing large turbines, especially very short span of time, right? So these are all positives, but we need to make sure that this 2 years of success and growth in the market can be sustainable, and all of us can grow together in the market. We are really, really happy to support Turkey and to achieve the renewable energy targets with our great technologies and our latest and greatest technologies. We have already introduced that in Turkey. We would continue to innovate, but from a market perspective, what we would want to see on a midterm and a long term is lesser volatility and sustainability, so that we have a consistent volume forecast. And also, if you look at larger project auctions, how do we look at sustainable PPAs linked to the hard currency fluctuations? And how do we look at the rate of localization and financing feasibility, right? And these are the things which we would also wanted to look at, but how technology can help to grow in the market. As a technologist, as an engineering leader, I would be more happy to talk about that in the next sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Ranjit. Right, let's talk about technology. Turbine size, efficiency, and capacity factors. Clark, you said that Siemens Gamesa now has higher rated wind turbines. Tell us more, please.
Well, as you may have seen, Giles, our onshore turbines now go up to 6.6 megawatts. And we are increasing the tip heights with our 170 blade and some higher towers. Now that's to get more AEP out of the turbines in order that we get a better business case for our customers. It's always trying to bring down the cost of electricity. I take it some of the challenges that we've got as OEMs in the supply chain. So we've got to try and balance some of those cost activities. And one of the things that, of course, that brings is the challenges for permitting, the challenges for consenting across the wind farms. And one of the benefits that we've seen in Turkey over the year is having a flexible permitting process. We have a different permitting process across different countries. And one of the challenges for developers of wind farms is to make sure you've got that future proofing for potential tip heights into your business case and your plan. And the challenge for authorities is not only the speed of permitting so that you can get that regular supply of wind farms through the market, but also the flexibility to change a permit if you've got a new technology which comes into the market. So I think those two, the technology, the permitting, and the flexibility from any authority, are something that goes hand in hand. So I wouldn't like us to come up with our latest technology and our developers and customers not being able to use it.
And you're happy with the flexibility that the Turkish authorities give you there?
I think they have been one of the more flexible nations, and I would plead to the authorities to try and ensure that that is maintained in any way that you're looking at the sustainability of your market. Yes.
And Clark, capacity factors, what can your 6.6 megawatt machine deliver in the right location?
I can't tell you that, Charles. Because we spend a lot of our time looking at different areas of the turbines. So we're optimizing a wind farm. In fact, one of the things you talked about is trying to look at technologies. And these days we spend a lot of the time optimizing the wind farm on the location in order to maximize it for each particular case in order to get a business case. So I think the days of just quoting a capacity factor for an individual turbine, you're not looking at the solution-based approach that we're taking to wind farms.
Got it. Thanks very much, Clark. José Luis, where are investors on these issues, turbine size and efficiency?
No, I just wanted to say, Giles, that actually you're going to be struggling if you want us to disclose all of our secrets. I think that's going to be a challenge. No, we are all in the same boat here. I think we are all working our way into the bigger size turbine, right? Also in the range of 6.8 up to 7.1 megawatts. This is the latest technology we have came out with, right? But I think we are all very much in the same segments. I think the challenge that we are all also facing is, yes, those turbines are much more efficient than the smaller turbines for sure. That is crystal clear, right? They can harvest a lot more wind than the equivalent turbine, smaller turbine in the same site. That is for sure. So you can extract more energy from the wind. The challenge that we have with the bigger turbines, I think it goes all across the board. It's not only Vestas. I think it's that, of course, it also drives costs and drives issues with licensability, as Clark is pointing out. I fully agree with that. Transportability is a big issue, depending on whether you want to bring those turbines, especially as they grow bigger. And in the current circumstances where the raw materials are where they are and the transportation costs are where they are, I think we are all struggling to really make sure that those bigger turbines have a significant impact in a significant reduction of the LCOE, right? Again, it's technical efficiency for sure, but the whole supply chain is not coming our way these days. And we have seen some of the smaller turbines actually drive a better LCOE. Really depends on the configuration, as Clark is pointing out very well. I fully agree to that. Each site is different, right? And you need to optimize their site. One site doesn't fit all. But big turbines, yes, drive efficiency, harvest the wind as anything else. We have issues with the cost that it drives, especially in the current circumstances.
Thank you very much, José Luis. Ibrahim, where's Nordex on these points?
Yes, I can fully agree with my two colleagues from Siemens Gamesa and Vestas. I mean, everybody in the industry as OEM at the moment are, of course, developing their technology, developing for bigger turbines, bigger rotors, bigger ratings, more flexible ratings. I mean, we see that across the border with 5x turbines, 6x turbines. I think rotor sizes on 160, 170s, and so on. So I think we are all going in the same direction, and trying to make the turbines more efficient, trying to make, so to say, be able to deliver more AP, try to get bigger rotors, try to improve the technologies, whether it's the gearbox technology, converter technology, the blade technology, especially with the size of the rotors which are going up. And if you look at the past years, the last 4 or 5 years, and look at the OEMs, what they have developed of new turbine types, the size of the turbines, then you can actually see a very quick and rapid development where OEMs more or less every year or every second year has brought a new turbine type into the market. Also from one side, the competition, from the other side, of course, they're eager to get the best LCOE, to have the most flexible turbines fitted to the variant market for the different markets around the world. And this, of course, is coming to a point where Jose Luis mentioned that just before, that we're coming to a point where we, of course, have to say, well, the new technology, development of the new technology, the output of the new technology compared with the transportability, installations, supply chain, and the cost side is, of course, coming to a point where everybody at the moment, I think, is considering how wise and how beneficial it is for the industry going with that speed of developing new technologies. And before the one turbine has been brought into the market, has been installed, has maybe paid off all the investment, then we're coming with the next one. I think we're slowly reaching the point that everybody is maybe reflecting a little bit what is going on in the market, especially under the cost circumstances what we have today, and supply chain circumstances what we have today, and would clearly say, well, is this the right development? Is this the right, so to say, thing to do as an industry? And I think there will be in the upcoming years a kind of slowdown of bringing new technologies and bigger turbines into the market, as we have seen the last 4 or 5 years. Of course, not that we as OEMs are not interested to bring new turbines into the market, but it will be thought much wiser through in form of optimization, in form of market segment, in form of supply chain, especially in form of cost-wise, before this technology or new technologies are being brought into the market. And I think Clark mentioned that, of course, the turbines today, what we are developing, all of us, is a much more flexible turbine. We have extremely much optimization included in the turbines. It's much more site-fitted. The lifetime plays a big role, at least in many markets. You have the blade technology, which is very unique, where the blade profile, the blade optimization is one of the key topics to get even more AP. The siting of the turbines on site to have different ratings to optimize the site positioning and the siting even more is one of the things which has been, so to say, developed over the last years. So, of course, from that perspective, the market today from the technology side is actually in a very, very comfortable situation, that there are a lot of good technologies, flexible technologies, optimized technologies to improve the AP. From the permitting side, as was also mentioned, and I think Clark is fully right. They are looking at the Turkish market, especially. I know that many investors I have been talking to, they are all complaining about the permitting process in Turkey. But I mean, if they compare with other countries, I mean, take France, take Scandinavian countries, other countries where things are much more complicated, lasting even much longer, which is preventing that new technologies actually in these markets cannot be installed because you can't change it. You don't have the flexibility to change it. And this means that most in these markets, what you're doing is that you're actually installing legacy products, even though that the new products are available. And looking at the Turkish market, I fully agree that there is a much more flexible, so to say, permitting process. And yes, there are complications. There are a lot of hassle for investors to get the permits, but the time frame looking at the permitting and also the flexibility that you can change the technology, you can change the turbine type, the chip height, that flexibility is clearly there, which is also leading to that the market is receiving new technologies, the larger rotors or the newest products what the OEMs has, which is of course also one of the clear benefits in the market and also in the competition of in the market, and also not just looking at the legacy products and so to say getting all the technology in that sense. So
thank you very much.
Thanks,
Ibrahim. That's great. I wonder, Ranjit or Arif, if you have any points to add under this segment.
Yeah, and I'll do it very, very short. And as a technologist, and all of us are in the same ballpark in terms of size, dimension, right? And I think Clark mentioned this. It's not really the sheer size matters, or one turbine, how much gross energy it can produce. The game is optimization, right? And how do we look at every project we optimize? At the end, it may not be the capacity factor and the optimization, keeping the life cycle cost, what LCOE we can achieve. There are several factors play there. It is energy production, it is lifetime, it is noise, and these are all the factors which would play great role in optimizing. At the same time, industry will grow and the turbine size will grow. And I'm sure all of our team, as we speak, is having the same discussion in our conference room on what should be the size, right? And what is important is to, when we would introduce the next product, and is it sustainable? And do we have the relevant supply chain developed and tied into it? And what is the right time? So those are the discussions which we need to have and which we are having.
Thank you, Ranjit. Arif.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I fully agree what my colleagues have already mentioned. Let's say the adaptation ourselves and O&Ms to the dynamic market conditions means with the new tendering and auction systems, of course, we have to optimize ourselves, like the turbine technology, the sizes and the rated power. And yeah, it is also, as one of our colleagues has mentioned already, the 2021 was really challenging and crazy year, since we got a huge increases in the raw material prices, and also the logistics costs was increased really in the let's say the tip of the iceberg. So finally, as Enercon, yeah, we have also our latest turbine in the 5.56 megawatt range, and still trust in the direct drive technology. But due to LCOE issues, of course, we have to also change a little bit in our technology, means with the generator to switch to the permanent magnet drive generator, especially. And also the optimization basically on the project-based optimization, like due to wind conditions, like or climate conditions. So we are just looking very flexible to the very flexible with the designing, for example, towers and the foundations, and also the optimizing of the AEPs with several, especially software mechanism to optimize the output of the turbine. So finally, yeah, it's a really challenging times for all of us, and yeah, I hope that all of us also can talk about the better developments next year.
Thank you very much, Arif. Gentlemen, a lot of you have talked about optimization and further incremental improvements in AEP. Ranjit, I have visited the GE control room in Salzburgen next to your factory, and I've seen those huge screens where the performance of every single turbine in your fleet is accessible. Yeah. And you have hundreds of sensors on each turbine. Are you able to use all the data you're collecting and meaningfully use it to improve output?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point, Giles. And this is, what we are blessed with is the number of data we have, right? And there is no lack of data for wind turbines in the operation. We understand the performance. We understand how the components are getting loaded, and from a lifing perspective. So there are two ways we are looking at this particular data and how we optimize. Like you said, we have in our remote operating center, we monitor these turbines, and those are the opportunity for us to leverage that data, link to artificial intelligence to figure out how do we make sure that we improve the availability, and how do we make sure that we improve the performance. And this is what we tie in our services business to serve our customers. And also the other factor which I wanted to make sure, this is also how the industry has evolved. We develop new technologies, then we have these data coming from the field, which we clearly have an understanding on how we can improve the availability, looking at that data, do the data mining, because we know the turbine as OEM, where we can push the margin and where we can get more energy, use that energy in our fleet. At the same time, when we are developing new technology, how do I use that new technology to cover some of the aspects what we are seeing when we are monitoring the turbine? So that's how we are looking at how do we optimize every wind farm, and how do we partner with our customers for future. I mean, it's just not one-term business; it's long-term partnership.
Thank you very much, Ranjit. Another point that many of you have commented on, gentlemen, is the importance of allowing a new product range, a new set of turbines to be on the market for quite a few years. Now, there's another angle here, which is you build your wind farms, how long will they be operating for how many years? I'm going to probe you all now on, your turbines. Are they 20 years, 25 years, 30 years? And what are you doing when your turbines reach end of life? Clark, I think you mentioned lifetime issues, recyclability of blades and so on. Perhaps you'd like to start on these issues.
Yes, Giles, happy to take that question. So I think as an industry, we were traditionally talking about something like 25 years for a wind turbine. And that's where we've been for maybe the last 7 or 8 years. However, just as Ranjit said, there are two elements to the wind turbine development. One is the length of components that we can make them last, and that's the optimization of the data. So you can look at the control, you can look at the condition monitoring, you look at the wake effects, you can look at all the elements that are on a wind turbine, and we have that data to be able to optimize it and make it last. And that allows us to design and operate components far more than 25 years. So we're looking at 35 years. And I'm sure the industry will be developing going further. So that's not I don't think we're alone in able to design those components to those length of times. But if you're making a significant investment and you're looking at your lifetime cost, then clearly getting that sustainability of performance over a longer period is what you do. Then I think we have an obligation as a renewable industry in terms of recyclability and what we do in the end of life. And we have a target to recycle our turbine. And that's where we are at 85% already today. So it's not that we start from a low part, but that's why we've developed the recyclable blade so that we can get to 100%. So that when you have the end of life of a wind farm, it's still a sustainable solution for the planet. And I think both those two elements are critical.
And when will you be at a 100% recyclable blade?
We're looking towards the end of this decade. Yeah, Although, the technology exists, we just have to finalize it, roll it out, and make sure it works. So it's very much a live stage, though.
Okay, and what about your existing blades that are being dismantled, decommissioned on some turbines in old wind farms? What are you doing to dispose of them, or what are your customers doing?
Well, it's I think it's driven by all of us in the industry. So there's a number of solutions across Europe, as you're well aware, and they are solutions where you can recycle them, so that you can crush them, you can use them in civil projects, you can use them in roads. And really it's using that base material in order that you can reuse the material. What I think recycling is you don't have to just keep it as the single material. You can break it down into the material elements, and that's what recyclability is about in any industry. And so that's where you need to have a slight change in mindset.
Thank you, Clark. Jose Luis, what's the Vestas approach to these issues?
Well, maybe just first want to say that there is a cross-industry initiative where Siemens and also LM General Electric is participating together with us and some other guys to really come up with a workable solution to fully recycle the blade, right? And I think it's an industry issue because today, I'm talking about the existing blades, as you asked, Giles. There's a lot of landfilling. I think let me just put it away. That's how it works, and that's unfortunate. But I think now the industry as a whole, because as I say, it's an industry issue. I think we have come together to work as a team to come up with something that actually makes sense also from the economical perspective, because it's not only that how do you deal with those blades, it's how do you make a circular economy around it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the challenge that we are all up against. How Vestas is approaching it, well, same as Siemens Gamesa, our plan is to have fully recyclable blades by 2030. That's the plan. And producing zero waste wind turbines by 2040. That's the target that we have set to ourselves, which is really challenging because it's not only about recycling blades or producing blades that are recyclable. It's also about landfilling, reusage, repair. So making sure that everything that we put in the field comes back to the cycle and it's used in new turbines. And it's a big challenge. It's not easy. But I think, as I said before, Giles and the rest, now the industry, I think, has took awareness of the problem and how important it is. And we are all aiming towards a circular economy. And as I said, Vestas as a whole, by 2040, we need to have a zero waste turbines. And that's the target.
Thank you, Jose Luis. So those extra 10 years that you need for the fully recyclable turbine is the time you need for what? Generators and magnets? Because the blades you'll have cracked by 2030, yeah?
No, yes. So the blades will be fully recyclable by 2030. Then we need to tackle all of the rest, which is our suppliers, the landfilling for the research of the different components, the repair, because there is a lot of waste in this industry, right? And it's a logistical challenge as well, right? Just imagine that you have an electronic car that you use in Argentina, and you need to reuse, repair, or recycle that waste. How do you take back that electronic card to a place, to a site where you can recycle it? So it's not just whether the materials are recyclable or not, because most of them today, they already are. It's to make it work from the economical perspective as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Jose Luis, you mentioned landfill. There's a lot of it going on today. The European wind industry, through Wind Europe, has now committed to stop doing landfill of blade waste in Europe from 2025. That means doing as much recycling as possible by that date, but by that date also doing a lot more recovery of blade waste in cement co-processing, for example, using the blades for thermal heat recovery. And of course, there are reuse and repurposing applications as well, which we can make more of from 2025. the fully recyclable blades, as you both say, Clark and Jose Luis, will be, we hope, for 2030. Arif, what are Enercon doing on these issues?
Yeah, thank you. As you have mentioned, we are working very tight together with Wind Europe, especially based on the industry principles and based on the sustainability policy, actually. And I mean, finally, as we have with our turbines produced roughly in 2020, let's say, in 110 terawatt hours, only with wind energy, let's say, and which is decreasing huge tons of carbon dioxide, actually. And on the other hand, just from our sustainability report, you can get it also from our internet address. So you can see that more than 90% of our total waste will recycled. And mainly the turbine itself, the main and the primary materials of the turbine is, of course, the steel, iron, etc., which is roughly 86% of the turbine. And the remaining parts, let's say with polymer materials, etc., it's actually roughly 1 to 2% only. And so finally, the materials what we are using in the turbines are recyclable, let's say, and so which is giving us the sustainable, environment-friendly product, so that we can just also not look on the green energy. Also, during the production, we have to be carefully that we are producing during the production that we are producing really environment-friendly turbines, which is one of the main target what we have for the next future as well, so that we would like to, in 2021, increase the recycle ratio of our waste again up to 90 to 95%, actually.
Okay, thank you very much, Arif. Ranjit, Jose Luis mentioned that Vestas are working both with GE and LM on the cross-industry initiative on recyclable blades. Anything you would like to add quickly on this?
No, yeah, I mean, like Jose Luis mentioned, and it is an industry-based collaboration, and it is 2030 what we are looking at from a blade production perspective, zero waste, and again, sustainability as a GE company, right? It's just not GE Renewable, but throughout the GE company, that's what we are looking at. 2030 is our primary goal, where we would reach zero waste from a blade production perspective. But if I look at other goals, carbon neutrality as a company, we are targeting 2030. As a company, zero waste, this is across the GE portfolio, renewables, power, all the company portfolios we have. The target is 2050 for zero waste.
Okay, thank you, Ranjit. I'd like to talk briefly now about the energy system integration of wind energy and how we are managing our variability. Now, I tried earlier to probe you all on the rising capacity factors of your turbines. I didn't do very well in getting any numbers out of you. Perhaps I can try a different angle now, which is, what are you doing to improve the integration of the electricity that your turbines are generating by combining your turbines, your wind farms, with battery units, with electrolyzers for the production of hydrogen, and also what are you doing on combined wind energy and solar power production? Now, first on this, I will turn to you, Jose Luis.
It's a really broad question, guys. I think because it is indeed. You just in one sentence, you have touched hydrogen, power to X, storage, hybridization. So it's I think we are all working on the same fronts, because, as you say, one of the biggest challenges that the industry has as a whole is to how can we integrate our kind of interruptibility, if I can put it that way, right? That our source of energy has, and that's inherent, right? Yeah. And actually, there are three ways of doing it. If first use the complementarity of solar and wind, that doesn't go for all the sites, but for some of the sites, there are complementary. I don't know if you can complement a little bit the lack of wind when you have sun, right? But it doesn't go for all the sites, but for some specific sites, it really helps, right? And of course, if you want to add also batteries, that also adds for more kind of peak shaving, if you wish, type of complementariness. So it really is a really comprehensive solution that works very well from the conceptual perspective, right? Now, said that, I don't think that there are many projects that have went beyond the piloting phase. I think we still need to see a utility scale hybrid together with the storage facility that actually has proved that is economically feasible. The concept works very, very well, but I think we still need a little bit of time to see that as a reality. And one of the restrictions that we have for that, I would say, is twofold. The first one is the storage. I think the batteries are expensive and they're small. And there's a lot of R&D going into that process, and I'm sure that it will come up with very good results pretty soon. But there's still a little bit of time until we have that, right? And the other very interesting component, and you touched upon that as well, Giles, is the data and how do you integrate that in the system, right? And we are all working as well in kind of smart dispatchers, if you wish, right? And investors as a whole, and maybe it's worth mentioning now, we have acquired an artificial intelligence company a few years back, Utopus Insights, based in New York, that we are trying to use, and I think we are managing to get that pretty well lately, artificial intelligence algorithms to be able to use market data, right? Market dynamics with the way we operate the turbines and with the way we operate our hybrid power plants in a very smart way. And again, here, in how do we integrate these new solutions in the grid and in the energy system as a whole, data is going to be absolutely critical. So that's a new front that has opened up that is so critical. And I suggest, guys, that we devote some time to hydrogen as such, because I think it's a really, really important matter as well.
Okay, thank you, José Luis. Ibrahim, where are Nordex on these issues?
So you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. I mean, as José Luis said, I think there's one very important point. Every OEM at the moment are, so to say, trying, testing, developing, and also looking on what possibilities there are, how things can be interacted with each other, and how things can be combined with each other. And this is exactly also what Nordex is doing. I mean, we are looking on grid forming converter systems. We're looking at electrolyzers. We're looking at smart market integration. We're looking at, I mean, the battery system. We have already tested that. We have one wind farm where we are running it in Ireland. We have another wind farm in Spain, which has been so to say, going on for a while. But of course, there are a lot of elements which need to be, so to say, tested. It needs to be proven. It needs to be, so to say, combined, especially with different renewable sources and technologies, like the hybrid wind farms. What we of course are also seeing that the storage topic is something which has been discussed for many years. There has been a lot of tests going on. There has been a number of wind farms being, so to say, built with storage. But if we look at the quantity, if we look at the volume, then I think the expected volume and the expected increase of this technology hasn't been really used so much as what it was maybe anticipated. And this is, of course, coming due to that there has been a number of limitations. There's still, so to say, development which needs to be improved there before things can be used more. And it's also very much market, so to say, driven and market specific, where customers and also utilities and IPPs are asking for these technologies. So therefore, very short on that side, I mean, most of that has been said. There are a lot of development going on in that respect, also from Nordic side. It is still in the early stage. We are testing, we are trying, and we are trying to, so to say, combine it. with other technologies. But I think it is far too early at the moment to say, well, there are specific solutions for this or for that, and therefore it is most more in the testing phase at the current time.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Clark, Jose Luis said we should bring hydrogen into this part of the discussion. Now, Siemens Gamesa, you are experimenting with electrolyzers inside your turbines, I think. You're taking part in some pilot projects, wind to hydrogen in northern Germany. Would you like to tell us more, both on hydrogen and these other angles?
Yes, let's tackle hydrogen first. So I think any renewable solution for the planet needs hydrogen. I think we've all come to the conclusion that electricity can go so far, batteries can have a certain use, but for me, hydrogen is a vital fuel for the future. And so therefore, whilst we have seen some inertia in the power-to-X market, I really think there will be a desire to use hydrogen as a fuel, and we can see where you can use it in fuel. So definitely, I think it's a key focus. I think where we've seen storage technologies struggle to take off, both my previous colleagues have seen that, I think hydrogen will find its place in the market. Now, we've got, as you say, we've got electrolyzers that can go into the turbine, very key in order to understand the technology. It's very different technology. You're driving an electrolyzer than you're driving an inverter converter to power out electricity. In Branda, we have a pilot site which has produced hydrogen, and indeed that hydrogen is in use. So that hydrogen is actually powering, the latest I'd heard, Giles, I think it was powering taxis in Copenhagen. But it's a good example of how we're expanding our footprint in terms of the wind industry to affect other areas of society. And that is definitely having some interest with customers. We have customers who are looking to either retrofit or provide hydrogen, maybe in some older sites and existing sites, some even looking to go into new countries with that mindset is that we will take wind and hydrogen together. So, and of course, we've got our Siemens Energy colleagues, not colleagues in a separate company, but Siemens Energy partnership that are very keen on power-to-X and looking at hydrogen to go to the market in many of their existing oil and gas markets. So quite an exciting time. And I personally believe that it won't have the inertia where some of the energy storage solutions have had going forward.
Thank you, Clark. Indeed, yes, at last year's Wind Europe annual event in Copenhagen, some of our 8,000 delegates were boasting that they had been traveling around in hydrogen-fired or fueled taxis. Yes. Now, Renjit, just as Clark's sister company Siemens Energy are making gas turbines, GE make gas turbines as well as wind turbines. Are your colleagues dreaming of the day when they'll be powering their gas turbines with hydrogen made from wind?
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you look at the entire hybrid space, right, and even before coming to this hybrid, how do we make sure that the wind turbine growth, the large amount of wind turbine and energy produced from wind turbine, we can integrate seamlessly to the grid? I think this industry has evolved, and a lot of great technologies, and the grid codes are getting like stronger and stronger, right? All of us are working hard to make sure that we have all the right throughs, we give all the reactive power capabilities, inertia to support under frequencies. So that one development which we are really invested in. Now, if you look at from a hybrid perspective, Giles, like the other panelists said, what is important is the asset optimization and management, right? To me, those are the two critical aspects. To make sure that the hybrid is a sustainable and cost-effective future, it is really important for us to figure out for each of the project, how do we do the asset optimization? How do we size it, right? Because especially if we use the storage, that optimization is extremely important because we can oversize the storage if it is not needed. It doesn't give us the economics we wanted. So that's one part. The other part is once the asset optimization is done, how do you control all the asset, right? The high level controlling your wind turbine, It might be your gas turbine. It might be any other storage devices. These are the two puzzles which we are trying to solve. And if you look at for GE, we have a hybrid team. We have a hybrid business, which is working together with us, the wind turbines, as well as wind turbine technology team, the gas power technology team, to put all of this together. And our research team in parallel is looking at how do we make sure that we can experiment with hydrogen, look at that and its economics, and at what stage we can industrialize this.
Thank you very much, Ranjit. I'd like to move now from technology issues to market issues. Arif, Ranjit was talking earlier about the importance of avoiding volatility in the market outlook, the importance of reliable, visible pipeline of auctions and orders. What's the Enercon view on this? What should Turkey be doing with its auctions, with YEKDEM, with announcements on volumes, and so on?
Thank you, Jais. According to that issue, we have to just look some steps before and where we are today, and what kind of market is Turkey today, and are we still emerging market or a stable market? Anyway, so when I see into the round, so all 5 big players, ONMs, are based in Turkey, not as turbine supplier, even with the production facilities and with the huge supply chain management what we have in Turkey today. So this story has started, of course, roughly 20 years ago, but the last 10 years was really competitive years for Turkey, since with the regulation of local content that all the ONMs has realized that the production in Turkey has a big value, even for the investors, even for the ONMs, due to cost effect like transportation, etc. so on. So therefore, in the last years, we could see that all of the ONMs has invested a lot in Turkey, in the Turkish industry, so we could develop a huge supply chain in Turkey altogether. And today, as we could realize it with the change of the YEKDEM or feed-in tariff, so it is the period of YEKDEM is not changed, it's still 10 years, but the amount of YEKDEM is switched to Turkish lira, and the local content bonus ratio is not more the same as in past. So as you know, before, 2021 and before, it was 7.3 US dollar cent. That was the basic feed-in tariff, plus 3.7 US dollar cent per kilowatt hour was a local content maximum bonus tariff. And finally, some of the turbine manufacturers could reach the maximum of 2.1 US dollar cent per kilowatt hour for the local content bonus, with the production of the blades and generators and towers and the connection parts. Anyway, so we have all, even all other colleagues will say the same, most probably, but we have spent a lot of work and money and effort into that to build up all the supply chain management, to have also the knowledge and the know-how in Turkey. And with this new tariff, which is switched to Turkish lira, and the escalation is so roughly 24% based on the euro, 24% based on US dollar, and 52% on the Turkish lira CPI and PPI index, which is still not really attractive. So therefore we can, so we have still the problem with the new investments, etc. so on. On top of that, we got also the license auction in 2017, December. So mainly, let's say more than 80% of the auctions were awarded with the minus feed-in tariff prices. And today we can also see that most of them, or even more than 90% of all of that minus projects are gave back to the ministry, to the authority again, so that these projects are not given anymore. So now we are just expecting for the new regulation for YECA 3 tender auctions, since the tender of YECA 3 is postponed twice. So now there are some rumors so that the escalation methodology could be changed, and that the appetite for that auction could be given again. And today, for the all O&Ms, the main important thing is that we need at least 1,000 to 1,500 megawatt per year to have this stable structure what we have built up in the last years. And this is actually what we need minimum in Turkey to see roughly 1,000 to 1,500 megawatt. And with this current situation, with the current and given regulations, it is very hard to commit that we can reach 1,000 to 1,500 megawatt annually, actually.
Thank you very much, Arif. Jose Luis, what's the Vestas view on these issues?
I think it's very similar to what Arif has just described, but let me just dwell a little bit on the same things, because I think they are worth mentioning. I think Turkey has seen, I'm not an expert in the Turkish market, of course, right? But I think there is something that we can all acknowledge, which is that the previous ejectment has managed to bring 10 gigawatts to the country in a relatively short period of time. So it has been pretty successful, right? And there are two things in my mind that the new ejectment doesn't have. Well, the first one is that it is in local currency. And that is a challenge. It is a challenge, due to the latest developments of the Turkish lira that you all know. The indexation mechanism that we know, that we understand, that is going to go into the final regulation is apparently not good enough. So it's not really capturing the potential cost increase that we may have due to the effects, and that's a reality as well. And the other one is that the level itself of the new feed-in tariff is extremely, extremely challenging. If I'm not mistaken, and I may be wrong, but I think it's in the range of 2.4 cents per kilowatt hour, something like that. And with the capacity factors that we all may be able to extract from our turbines, it's going to be very difficult for any project to fly under that conditions. Let me put it that way. Extremely difficult. And also there are local content requirements. And maybe just wanted to say one last thing, which is local content is fine. And I think we all want to do it, and we all have done it. We are manufacturing blades, generators, and towers in the country. But an excessive local content requirements actually drives less technology improvements, because we cannot localize all the turbines all the time in every country. So that's another challenge that we all need to address as well.
Thank you very much, Jose Luis. Clark, your view on these issues. And while you're at it, I wonder if you could answer a question we've had from the audience, Clark, which is that Siemens Gamesa announced that your Izmir nacelle factory is ready. When will you start manufacturing turbines in Turkey is the question. Over to you, Clark.
Okay, well, let me take the general market and then I'll go into the specifics of the nacelle factory, if I may, Giles.
Yes.
So first of all, I think Arif and Jose Luis have summarized the position very well. So I don't think I need to go into the details of the tariff. All I would say is I agree with them. I mean, all stable markets have a consistent auction system. They have a consistent way of going to market. And for me, it's the financing and bankability of these projects that will really drive where the Turkish market goes. 10 gigawatts is excellent, but that's really a drop in the ocean. And if any country wants to have a sustainable growing market, then really it's having the bankability so that you can have the consistent market that you require. And therefore, any financier who can see variability in their value of their cash inflows from their business case is not going to see that as a strong appetite for a wind farm, and therefore how we manage these tough economic conditions with currency exchanges and inflation. There has to be a mechanism, otherwise we won't be able to get the financing of these wind farms in place. And I think that was the only thing I would just add as a further explanation to what my industry colleagues have already said. On the local content, yes, the local content doesn't always bring the best business case in terms of which turbine you're going. So therefore, my belief on local content is you create the market, you create the volume in the market, you create the consistency in the market, and the mature markets will find the optimization of the products within that country. We've seen that in other mature markets. And therefore, you know, as you develop feed-in tariffs or auction mechanisms going forward, then I don't think it's the criticality of making sure you've got percentage of local content. It's creating the market conditions that allows the supply chain companies to invest and to provide their products both locally and internationally. And so therefore, I think the two are linked in terms of having a good mechanism and a regular flow of wind farms. In terms of our own nacelle facility, yes, it's built. And we have a large project coming out the first YECA auction. And that's quite complex in terms of its local content and its development. And of course, we've been doing it under a pandemic. So we as a consortium are still trying to finalize how we move forward on that project. And when we do finalize it, then we will roll out the plans we have in place for the nacelle factory. But in terms of when that date is, I wouldn't like to forward guess.
Okay, thank you very much, Clark. Ibrahim, you got us going earlier on these issues around volatility of the market. Your thoughts, please.
Yes, I think a lot of has been already said, and I don't want to repeat the whole thing again. But I would, of course, like to give few comments. I mean, the volatility, what is in the market, it was mentioned already by some of the colleagues. 21 has been a very difficult year. It seems to be that 22 is continuing in the similar way. But maybe we can take that discussion up. But looking at the Turkish market, what I would like to say there is that, I mean, looking at the last 10 years especially, and the policies and the subsidies and so on, which is being given in the market, especially on the local content, I think Turkey and the government and the ministry and the authorities have done a good job, extremely good job, looking at where the industry is today with a 10.5 gigawatt installed basis. Looking at the local content, which was one of the very critical points, was discussed in 2013, 2014, even with the European Union, and especially with this localization of whatever towers, blades, and so on, what is there today. When you're looking at what we have achieved until now and where we are standing today in the market, we can clearly see that this has been the right policy, especially on the localization side. Because today all OEMs more or less are producing in Turkey, whether it is towers, whether it is blades, whether it is generators, and even other components. And we are not only producing this for the local market, we are also exporting extensively to the European market and to the global market. Just to give a few numbers from our side, when we look at Nordex, I mean, we are exporting, so to say, from our complete yearly installation fleet, we're exporting around 32% of towers from Turkey. And when you look at the blades, we are around 32% of blades for the global market from Turkey, and 25% towers for the global market from Turkey. And along these two components, I'm sure that the other colleagues and Vestas, Siemens Gamesa, Enercon, GE are doing in a similar way, maybe smaller or higher numbers. But what has been achieved at the end with subsidizing the local content, which was one of the critical points discussed in the past, is that there has been an industry built up now who are not only taking care of the local market, but also exporting extensively to Europe and to the global market in the industry. I think this is a very big success, which clearly have to be underlined. And looking at the market today, from that perspective, this can be a market where supply chain still can be extended, can still be built if we take the necessary steps, and also the governmental bodies are, so to say, focusing on this. Looking at the general wind market in Turkey, I mean, 21, also with the TÜREP numbers, which has been published mid of last year, it has been a very, very good year, of course, also due to the fact that YEKDEM has been extended. There was a huge rush to get projects in. There was a lot of installations done last year, partly also beginning of this year. Things are still going on. But when we look at 2022 and 2023 and on the upcoming years, we do see clearly a problem in the market that the new YEKDEM mechanism, it was already mentioned, with the financial situation, currency situation, and also the financing of projects, at least is going to be extremely challenging, that projects can be, so to say, executed on that basis. If we are going to look at the YEKAs, I mean, there has been 2 YEKAs, and now we are planning the 3rd one. I think it was mentioned by some of the colleagues. We have today still not, unfortunately, been able to execute or start executing the YEKA projects, which has been, so to say, awarded in the last 2 YEKAs. And I think we need to take this as a kind of lessons learned for the 3rd YEKA, because the mechanism and also the changes they have made for the 3rd YEKA, also with going into smaller pieces of projects instead of large volumes, I think this has been clearly the right step. One very important point is that looking at the history and looking at the experience, auction competition in Turkey, whether it has been licensed, whether it has been YEKAs, has not really been successful. And I think we need to look at that thoroughly. And one of the proposals which I have discussed many times in the past is that, especially for the future YEKAs, we need to give whoever is the winner or the investor, we need to give the possibility that the investors in the future, the customers in the future, can also go out from the YEKA mechanism and the price mechanism included there into the free market mechanism, to give that option and that flexibility, so that projects can be more feasible in that sense. And at least this will enable a different structure for these projects, and also for the financing of these projects. So what is needed in the market now, where the rush has, so to say, been more or less executed, is that we need to have now another mechanism, and also whether it is YEKA, whether it is another license auction, we need to have more volume coming in. And as Arif said, a volume in the range of 1 gigawatt to 1.5 gigawatt is what is clearly needed. And this is also needed not only due to the market, what is needed in Turkey, but it's also needed due to the industry which has been built up already, so that companies like Nordex, Vestas, everyone can even furthermore invest in the market, invest in the supply chain, which will only not be for the local market, but also for European market and the global market. I think that tendency we need to continue with, and that speed which has taken on, that we need to continue with, which is extremely important for the Turkish market in general.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Can I just probe you on one point of detail? 32% of all of the blades that you're now installing on Nordex turbines that you're building around the world are made in your factories in Turkey, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And 25% for your towers. Okay, Ranjit, your thoughts on these issues before I try to draw some conclusions on them.
Yeah, and I think the panelists summarized it pretty well. And like I started with, right, and there are 2 things which we need to look at. One, how do we make sure that there is sustainability in the market, so that all of us have a good forecast, and then we can work towards it. And localization is important, and we are committed to localization, like all of my other colleagues also stated. And we have our blade facility in Turkey, and we have invested 50 million when we started with, and then added up another 30 million into that facility. So we are investing in developing local capability, and that would continue, right? But there needs to be a pace. The localization, how we would achieve the localization, and that would be a continued partnership. And the percentage of localization need to be paced accordingly so that we can make sure that we can, together with our supply chain partners, we can develop that industry-based supply chain, which is sustainable for the midterm and long-term growth, right? And that's the balance which we need to bring in.
Okay, that covers your 2 points, Ranjit, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Now, we did have a question earlier from Hakan Yildirim, former president of the Turkish Wind Energy Association. Is Turkey a top priority market, a focus country for your companies today? If it is not, what needs to be done to get it back in the top 10 for your respective companies' top management? If you could be thinking about that question, please, whilst I try to draw the following tentative conclusions, which I'm going to throw back to you as well and ask you if you agree or disagree. YECA 3 now in the planning stage. It's got to be different to YECA 1 and YECA 2. The new YECDEM, it's very hard to see how that's going to deliver the volumes of continued growth in the market that Turkey needs, not least with the tariffs being denominated in lira rather than in other currencies. The indexation mechanism is not good enough and the level is very low. And therefore, as currently designed, it's very hard to see how this can be a basis for the growth that Turkey needs and the growth that your companies would want it to have in order to put it in the top 10. And this doesn't look very good. Is this a fair conclusion to draw? Would any of you wish to challenge that?
I think, guys, it's a fair conclusion. I think we see the same. It's going to be, with the current conditions and the current schemes, it's going to be very challenging for Turkey to go up to the 20 gigawatts that they have committed to, unless we have a different scheme that is bankable, that we have visibility, and that it caters for the industry as we see it from now on. So yes, I think it makes a great summary of the discussion.
Okay, thank you, José Arif, please.
Maybe I can add also, as industrial part of the sector, we need, of course, we need at least for 5 to 10 years of predictability. So because to prepare the industry for the market, for the sector, especially with the local production, etc., so on, needs a predictability and sustainability. So this is what we need, especially for the Turkish market for the next future, beside of the volume and bankability, etc., so on.
Thank you, Arif. Clark, concluding thoughts from yourself.
So you asked the question, is Turkey a top market? And I would leave you with this thought. We're all active in Turkey. We can see the opportunity and appetite. 10 gigawatts is an excellent achievement so far. And it really is a challenge for the Turkish market to get itself in a modern state in order that we can all maximize the opportunities that are undoubtedly there. And I think some of the challenges and some of the reality that we face in terms of supply chain challenges, growths in other markets, how we develop stable and attractive, that's something that there's an appetite to do. And I think just as authorities, our local employees and international companies, then we need to work together to make sure it's an attractive proposition.
Thank you, Clark. Ranjit.
Yeah, I would echo exactly the same. We have invested in Turkey, right? And it is one of our top market. But as we discussed, and there are challenges, there are volatility we see in the market, right? For all of us, for the industry to continue to grow, we need to look at how do we address those issues, as you rightly summarized, Giles, at the end of our discussion.
Thank you very much, Ranjit. And Ibrahim, finally yourself.
Yes, very, very short also from my side. Many things has been said. I'm not so pessimistic about the Turkish market. I mean, I have been in the market. I know the market very well. There has been periods also in the past where things were looking very, very pessimistic, very, so to say, not really progressing. But still, there has been elements which has been implemented at the last minute, and the market has taken off again. And asking for a sustainability and visibility of the market for the next 5-10 years, I think that's going to be very, very difficult, at least when we look at the history. So I think we as an industry, as a part of this industry, we need to push, and we need to, so to say, give the best advice we can give to get the market in the right direction, and also to come with our experiences also from other markets and saying, well, what is being done in the other markets. And of course, things are looking a little bit invisible at the moment, but I'm sure that there are issues which are being worked on. So I'm quite optimistic that things will continue there. We all together, also with TÜREB, of course, have to give the advices and push in the right direction, and then I'm sure that solutions will come there.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. That's a very important point you make, that elements are implemented and added on at the last minute in the policy and regulatory framework design process. And maybe we still have some last minutes in which to shape the next 2 gigawatt round, as well as shaping, of course, the planning for YEKA 3. And I think as a conclusion, we would call on the Turkish Wind Energy Association to use their good offices with the input of all of yourselves to that effect. TÜREB colleagues, you can count on the full support here, of course, of Wind Europe. You say you're not so pessimistic, Ibrahim, and yet you think that 5 to 10 years visibility for Turkey would be very difficult. I mean, it's worth just noting that the new German government has now set out 9 years worth of very clear visibility for the build out both of onshore wind and offshore wind. The UK government will very soon, if not even today, announce that they are going to be running annual contract for difference auctions for offshore wind. So, you know, governments, if they're serious about this, they can do the visibility, yeah? And I don't think we should give up on that, although it's important at the same time to be playing this game of getting maximum improvements at the last minute, as you say, Ibrahim. I would like to thank all of you panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, I know this is virtual, but I'm sure you will wish to join me in thanking the panelists as well for an excellent discussion, both on the market issues and also of the technology issues. So Arif, Ranjit, Ibrahim, Clark, Jose Luis, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to the organizers of the Turkish Wind Energy Association, and thank you to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention this last hour and a half. We wish you all a very good rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Can I announce, by the way, before we close, on March the 2nd, the Turkish Wind Energy Association will be running an online exhibition and wind industry seminar. More details about that will be coming your way very soon. That is on the 2nd of March. Thank you all for your attention. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.